In today's episode, I will teach you the consequence of unhealthy habits that strengthen the fears of rejection and abandonment. You will get specific strategies to help you manage the process on avoiding the pain of abandonment and rejection in a way that will allow you to let go of the protective behaviors such as neediness and clinginess. You will finally understand the patterns of clinginess and neediness as a way of overcompensating to avoid the abandonment and rejection unhealthy cycle that does not work for you in the long term. Keep listening because you will also get a quick tip on 5 ways to change fearful behaviors that sets up for more abandonment. I am Anita Sandoval, a licensed professional counselor, so stick around because this episode is all for you.
Tired of feeling misunderstood, frustrated, and emotionally disconnected when communicating with other people? This is Conversations That Work with Anita Sandoval, where you can learn how to maintain healthy conversations with the people who matter most. A podcast where you can gain confidence and get tips for having challenging day-to-day conversations that make you feel understood, validated, and heard. Here is your host, a licensed professional counselor specializing in communication skills, strategies, and techniques, Anita Sandoval. Let's start the conversation.
Overcoming the clinginess and neediness in relationships. The goal here is helping to see how clinginess has been serving you, the protective way it might have been helping you, the true cost of the behaviors, and whether it's a cost that might be too high. You will gain some insight on people who become overly needy in order to avoid abandonment. And when you pick relationships, depending on meeting your own needs and not respect the needs of others, that will end up driving them away. And in what way people who become overly needy are choosing the person that's going to be more likely to abandon them. Setting goals with those behaviors and values will help you be free of the fear that is holding you back. Fear is what's holding back that unhealthy behaviors, increasing the behaviors of clinginess and neediness. You can look forward into creating a life of integrating the awareness of letting go instead of clinging behaviors and neediness, therefore increasing resiliency and the capacity to deal with the fear of rejection and the pain of abandonment. Quick tip. People who become overly needy in order to avoid abandonment. Here are 5 ways to change the fearful behavior that sets up more abandonment. Number 1, check to see if you may have unrealistic expectations of others, and if that is what triggers the pattern of clinginess. Are you expecting them to make you feel secure, to make you feel safe, to make you feel validated and that your opinion is worthy? Step 2, awareness. Are you aware on how clinginess and neediness within the relationship is a problem that needs to be solved? Being aware that there is a problem. Step number 3, explore the gestures and behaviors that may be linked to the neediness and clingy movements. Explore the physical experience of letting go. Here is where you can see where is it that you need to cling to, and then find replacement behaviors. Have a sensory basket where you can have some sensory items whenever you feel the need to cling to someone. Step number 4, create a stop the show, safe word, agreement with your partner or support system. It doesn't have to be a partner, that you're clinging or needing. Maybe it's a friend, a support system, someone you care about. When neediness increases, have those prompts, those cues, responses set ahead of time. That will help both people come to a better solution. Be aware when the clingy behaviors are increasing. Step number 5, seek professional help to explore possible past trauma that may be contributing to the neediness or clinginess. It could help you process the early part of yourselves that is increasing its fear of being abandoned. That fear of clinginess and neediness is an adaptive part of an inner child trauma, and going through therapy will help you heal and move forward from that. Let's recap. Number 1, are you expecting others to take care of you, and therefore you're trying to cling on to them to do so? Number 2, are you aware that this is a problem within yourself and in the relationship with someone else? Number 3, what are the behaviors that you do that show neediness and clinginess? Be aware of those behaviors and then let it go. Like shake off your hands. That is one way. If you're wanting to hold on to someone, let go and just shake it off. Explore the physical experience of how it feels to not cling and do something else. For example, holding onto a pillow, throwing the pillow, holding onto a blanket, throwing the blanket, holding onto a squishy ball, throwing the ball. How does it feel to hold on, squeeze tight, and let go? And explore those sensations. And then number 4, have a safe word that both of you can agree to make sure that you're aware that that part of you, the clinginess in relationships, is coming on. The goal is to get ahead of it, to stop it before it goes into an unhealthy part within the relationship. And of course, number 5, seek professional help to help you heal and move forward. To help you heal, learn, grow, and change. So that is the quick tip.
Connect with Anita on Facebook. Facebook.com/conversationsthatwork.
What is clinginess? Clinginess is when you become so focused on avoiding rejection that you become overly needy and demanding of the other person in your lives. It is a way of being self-protective to avoid abandonment. It is also an adaptive protective response from your inner child when you were small. The consequences are that it creates havoc within the person's relationships. Think of it as a roller coaster. You enter into a new relationship, everything's great, and all of a sudden things happen, things increase, and it breaks down. And it's the same cycle over and over and over again. Some of the symptoms fear of abandonment causes, you don't see them as separate and what their needs are and what makes them joyful, what fulfills them. And the other person will realize this and will then leave, is where you see the other person in terms of your own needs and not their needs, which will drive them away. There's a difference with people pleasing. You're not here to please their needs, but they're not here to please yours either. You're here to meet your own needs as well as them meeting their own needs. So what happens here with people pleasing, you try to meet their needs, make them happy, but then you become unhappy. Then if they become people pleasers, they try to make you happy and meet your needs, but then they become unhappy. And so what happens is there's always one unhappy person trying to make the other person happy. And in the end, no one is. Because in the end, you're supposed to meet your own needs. And when you're finally fulfilled with your own wants and needs, you are now able to help the other person. Not do for them, but just be there to support them. When people who are overly needy and clingy pick relationship, it is depending on meeting their own needs. And they don't respect the needs of others. It will drive them away. What are some of the characteristics? they end up choosing the person that's going to be more likely to abandon you. And in an effort to avoid the abandonment, you try to control the other person too much. And it doesn't allow them to be enjoying their own lives with their own wants and needs. Some of the behaviors that are needy and clingy are checking up too much on the other person. When you are accusatory to the other person, and then they start to pull back their space with you. Fear of abandonment and rejection come in terms of clinginess and neediness, and relationships that show in two common ways. 1, you choose the most undependable person to connect with. 2, you become so controlling in order to have your own needs met that you end up pushing the other person away. There's no way that someone else can fulfill your own needs because you're the only one that knows what actually you need. So a consequence of this unhealthy habit, it will then strengthen that fear of rejection and abandonment. Fears expresses these fears in accusatory behaviors. People are jealous. They have made up stories in their mind that something bad is happening. Where were you last night? What were you doing? Who were you texting? I know you're texting someone because you're not telling me who it is. Who called you? And then they start worrying about other signs of abandonment. You're thinking of leaving me, aren't you? You must be thinking of leaving me because you don't give me your password to your Facebook. You don't take a picture of me with you in Facebook or social media. And this can be to anyone, be it friends, family members, or romantic partners. So what are the consequences? The consequences here is when you are being accusing of the other person. In essence, you're telling them, you're a bad person for not caring about me, for not putting my needs first, which will then push them more further away. The more further away they get, the more the person with abandonment fear gets to express those fears more strongly. They increase that accusatory behavior and manner, which will pull back out of that relationship. So it just strengthens and it gets worse and it gets worse and it gets worse. The more you accuse, the more the implicit meaning that the other person is the bad person, that they're not caring. And in the end, the other person will just give up and say, there's nothing I can do to make you happy. Because in reality, there isn't. The person becomes more aggressive and their thought is, you see, I was right. They're not caring for me. They don't want to put me first. They don't love me. They are going to leave me. They are cheating on me. They are having an affair. They don't care. So it perpetuates this unhealthy story thinking that just increases.
Sign up for up-to-date information and resources at conversationsatwork.org.
Some characteristics that a person with clingy and needy behaviors has. This person will have unrealistic expectations of other people. This will cause some very unhealthy cycles of habits. The concept here in decreasing that fear of abandonment is recognizing how the relationship that you have within yourself can give you the fulfillment, and recognize that not one person can meet all your needs. You can have someone that can meet your emotional needs. You can have your friends to help you whenever you're feeling down and about. You can have your partner help you in another certain need. Not one person can meet all of your needs. This will help you then develop and deepen other relationships, and you will less be dependent on one single person for all of your needs and validation. Because again, not one person can meet all of your needs. I want to talk about one word that I like to say a lot. The word is called paradox. Things that don't make sense, but it works. It contradicts itself in a statement, but it is proven to be well-founded or true. How does this paradox in clinginess and relationships work? Well, how a person tries to avoid abandonment is the key to help them heal. Neediness and clinginess is a way to protect oneself from feeling a worse kind of pain. What is it? The pain of abandonment and that fear of rejection. Let's focus on the first strategy, how to break that vicious cycle and pattern. Number 1, recognize the pattern. Awareness when it is happening. And then you prompt yourself, you cue yourself to ask, I wonder if what I am looking at here is a cause and effect. Every time I do this, this happens. It's like a habit. We're trapped in this trigger that sparks the reaction. If somebody picks up a phone call and they don't tell you who it is, and that is a trigger for you. I want you to look at your opinions, your values, that it is contributing to this. How do you see the relationship within your values? If you value respect, are you behaving respectfully to the other person when you tell them you need to show me your phone? You need to give me the password to your social media so I could look at it. Is that showing respectful behavior? A person with clingy and needy behaviors can have unrealistic expectations of the other people to take care of them. And they expect them to be this caregiver role, which they are unable to meet. Because if we are adults, we do not need caregivers. But then why are we searching for a caregiver to meet our adult needs? That is where the clingy and needy behaviors increase. Number 2, whenever you are seeing that you are increasing in clingy and needy behaviors, when they come into play, ask yourself, when did it first happen that you recall these clingy behaviors? More than likely, it was when you were a child, where you did need a caregiver role to take care of you. What happened when you went to high school, elementary school? What happened when you were dating? In what way has being clingy and needy protected you in the short term? Because it does protect you in the short term. However, in the long term, it creates havoc in relationships. How would you like your life to change? Imagine your life 5-10 years from now, continuing clingy and needy behaviors. What kind of person will you be attracting? If you want a person who is independent, if you do not want to be treated like a child, then the goal is to not look for a caregiver to take care of your emotional needs. How are things now and how would you like them to be? If I continue in this way, what is the impact, the price I and others around me are paying? And is that something you are okay with? And is that something I am okay with?
Conversations that Work with Anita Sandoval, making challenging conversations easy.
The first step is to see that this neediness and clinginess as a problem needs to be solved. For example, maybe something bad happened while you were growing up. Therefore, you had a feeling of being dependent on someone in a crowd setting. Maybe you have a history of things not turning out the way you wanted, and you have negative thoughts of being a failure. Therefore, you keep over-checking and being close, clingy, and needy for someone to make decisions for you as a part of that experience. The goal here is to manage the process on avoiding the pain of abandonment and rejection in a way that will allow you to let go of the protective behaviors such as neediness and clinginess. These behaviors of neediness and clinginess do serve you short term to protect you, but it is also hindering you from further relief and happiness. And the goal is to obtain social supports that provide empathy to help you see the discrepancy between the way you're behaving now and the way you would like to behave. Going back to see where you first realized you had clingy and needy behavior problems will help you understand how it has been serving you to protect you and how it has been helping you in the short term. And then you move on to the next step of finding out the true cost of that behavior and if that cost is too high. And once you realize the cost of clinginess and neediness, you are now able to set goals with your behaviors and values and be free of that fear that is holding you back. Because in the end, fear is the only thing holding you back, not the behaviors of clingy or neediness. Strategy number 2. Let's explore the areas where clingy behaviors could be working against you. In areas of relationships by holding on to them when it has already become unhealthy. The biggest cost of needy, clingy behaviors is the loss of intimate relationships. It is a response that you have adapted to protect you, a way of seeking safety, a way of avoiding abandonment. It is a way of reaching after security, safety, reaching out and holding on tight. Think of a child not wanting to let their parent leave and grabbing hold to their leg so tight that they don't want them to leave, or holding on to their hand and just pushing them, don't go, while they're leaving. An example of early clingy behaviors could be as a child when you were clingy with your parent or a caregiver and you were teased a lot by kids. You didn't feel safe with the other children and you were afraid to go on play dates as a child. But the parent never validated your feelings, saying, don't be silly. You're going to have fun. Just go play. And your feelings were never acknowledged, that you were scared and you felt unsafe. A strategy that you can use is exploring the clinging action and needy feelings. Choose an object that you're comfortable with. A pillow, a plush object, a blanket. Grasp and hold on to it. Cling to it and focus on that gesture of holding on and the sensation of the comfortable and ease within your body while doing that. Feel how easy and good that feels within your body, like a sense of familiarity within the movements to grab a hold and hold on. Now, focus on the sensations of letting go. And it is necessary to learn the action of letting go and on how that feels within the body, the movements, the sensations, the feelings, the thoughts of it. Ask within yourself, what movements are unfamiliar and uncomfortable and not easy? Feel the uneasiness with the fear of letting go. Acknowledge that it is a normal feeling. That way it's going to be okay. And feel the sensations of letting go and validate those feelings within yourself afterwards. It's going to be okay. I'm letting go of this. I'm imagining letting go. These are the sensations. I am safe and it's going to be okay. The goal is to manage your body's reaction and increase the capacity to deal with that fear of rejection and pain of abandonment by integrating the awareness of letting go and therefore increasing the resiliency. That's the paradox. You integrate awareness of letting go, so while you're letting go and being aware of letting go, you increase that resiliency to withstand that pain of rejection and abandonment. The ideas of letting go is so scary for a person who fears abandonment and rejection. So the challenge is that your body has to adapt to latch on. And that irrational belief, the paradox, is that if you hold on and you grasp on, you're safe. But in reality, that behavior is what drives others away.
Connect with Anita on Facebook. Facebook.com/conversations that work.
Something simple such as getting something in your house that you know you have to throw away but you never did. Something you don't use anymore. Maybe an old pair of shoes that you were comfortable with. It doesn't serve you anymore. Getting those shoes and just throwing them in the trash. And go through that sensation of how it feels to let go. It will help you increase that resiliency with that fear, with that pain and fear of rejection and abandonment, and help you decrease the clingy and needy behaviors. Just with something so simple as an old pair of shoes that you do not need. Let's go back to relationship strategy. I like to call this the relationship emergency plan. This is where loved ones can defuse a situation without too many hurt feelings. It shows the breakdown in the way people interact in a relationship. The goal here is to be aware of the distinction between what you feel and what you do. Just because you feel scared, just because you think you're going to be abandoned, does not excuse the behaviors that you do because of it. You can feel needy and clingy, but you cannot demand to your partner or friend and expect them to tolerate your emotions of neediness and clinginess. There are 3 modes of negotiation: invitation, request, and demand. Invitation is something where, if you want, no is easy to hear. Do you want to talk? Do you want me to be here and listen to you? Do you need me to leave and let you be on your own? This is easy to hear. Now, a request has a higher importance, and there the needs need to be a good reason to say no. An example would be, would you do me this favor for me? Can you be able to do this for me? There has to be a good reason for saying no. The 3rd mode of negotiation is demand. You do it or else you wish you had. You do it or else there will be retaliation if you don't. Demands are only functional in relationships or emergencies. So at most, what somebody is calling a needy behavior is actually a demanding behavior. So what happens when you demand things and expect things from others? You're not going to get what you want. So the strategy is to move to requests instead of demands, and to tolerate the no, to tolerate the disappointment that it's going to be okay. People are allowed to say no to you, and you are allowed to take care of your own needs and wants, and it's going to be okay. The goal is to tolerate the no, to tolerate the disappointment, and realize that it's going to be okay. Overcoming the emotional addiction is putting out your wants and needs and hearing a no and celebrating. The ability to appreciate your partner's self-care. The ability to have your partner say no sometimes, and you appreciate and celebrate your own capacity to hear the no and not take it personal. To tell them, okay, thank you. It's going to be okay. And yes, you go deal with what you need to do. To not allow the behaviors of neediness within your partner, but to manage, process, and heal from it. What are some of the causes with the inability to tolerate the no? Well, it's a no at a deeper level, where the neediness is not coming from the functional adult, but from the adaptive child part of you. This is where professional help, where you and a therapist can work together to deal with the inner wounded child part of you, to heal with the neediness and not allow that child part of you to act out on the people you love the most or care about the most. What happens? Well, maturity comes from when we handle our inner wounded child part of ourselves, and we don't force them off our nearest and dearest to handle for us. It is not their responsibility. It is ours. And I will leave you with this quote. Love should not cause suffocation and death. If it is truly love, don't bundle someone into an uncomfortable cage just because you want to ensure their safety in your life. The bird knows where it belongs and will never fly to a wrong nest. By Michael Johnson.
Thank you for listening to Conversations at Work with Anita Sandoval. Know someone who needs help in having healthy conversations? Share this episode and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Until our next conversation.